Hey, Jeff. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Frisco Connect. My name is John Luce. We are live streaming on YouTube, and we're coming to you from Stonebriar Community Church in Frisco, Texas, who has been our host and support on this for 12 years, going on 13 years. So if you're watching online, we welcome you. We thank you for joining us. And I would ask that everyone online and in person take note of some of the things we're going to share today, because things are changing. Hey, the one thing that's constant is change, right? So things are evolving and changing, and so we've got a lot of information we're going to share. For those of you online, please spread the word, make some notes and spread the word and help us get the word out. You'll see on the slides that our next regular meeting is going to be on February 7th, 2023. That's about 10 weeks from now. What we're doing is the leadership and all the support people, Trevor Houston, Mark Elder, Pete Hernandez, Foster Williams, Bill Richardson, all the team that has helped us with Frisco Connect, with support. We're going to get together, we're going to discuss format, content, time frame, presentations, and we're going to do what we can to get you away from that screen and in here personally, because building your network, building relationships does not work well on videocasts. So we'll talk more about that. Foster, I'm sure, will have some things to say about that, as well as Pete and other people. But building a network, building relationships is absolutely got to be an in-person type thing. So let me get back to my regular routine. I'm very grateful to Stonebriar Community Church, Pastor Steve Fisher, who's been our anchor and our support for this. We're grateful for the accommodation that they've given us, and we look forward to being able to continue that in a dynamic way in 2023. So with that, as is our tradition, we're going to open up with a word of prayer, and if you wouldn't mind joining me for that, for just a moment of prayer, I'd appreciate it. Heavenly Father, we put today in your hands, for you are sovereign over all the earth and all the universe. And we're grateful for everything you provide for Frisco Connect. We're grateful for the people you've brought us to support us, to help us help others, to walk alongside others, to help equip them in their search for gainful employment. We put this meeting in your hands. We ask you to use it. We thank you for the ability to live stream it and reach other people who couldn't make it here. But we ask you, Lord, to draw people here so that they can dynamically build the relationships that will help them in their walk for employment and gainful use of their talents and skills that you have given them. So we put it all in your hands, and we just give you our gratitude and our thanks for all your love and support in this. In the name of your Son, Jesus our Lord. Amen. So that prayer is based on Philippians 2:4 that we use as one of the anchor scriptures for our meetings. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. And that's a nice scriptural way of just saying pay it forward, because you reap what you sow, and so helping others, the help comes to you. Can't explain how that works, but it works. And we have a lot of testimony of people who can witness to that. So, come on. For those of you in the audience here, we're cell phone friendly. We ask you to put your cell phone on vibrate or silent so that we don't get all those technical noises as we go forward with sharing the information that'll be helpful to those. And you know what? I'm going to do it right now because I forgot to do it before I got up here. There. Okay. Wi-Fi is available if you're here using a Wi-Fi device. The channel is SCC_public. It is not a protected channel. It's an open channel. So just want you to be aware of that. Okay. I want to talk about Reach Up, Reach Out. That's another meeting we hold on Friday mornings. We do it only via Zoom, and we will continue that throughout the rest of the year and in January, even though we're not meeting in person for Frisco Connect. We do Reach Up, Reach Out online because we've had people join us anywhere from New York all the way out to Hawaii, and so obviously they couldn't come and meet in person, right? So Reach Up, Reach Out is another side of supporting and empowering people who are looking for employment. With the chaos that's going on in our culture today, economically, health-wise, situationally, it's very important that people meet together to support one another. So what we do is we get together from 7 until 8:30 a.m. via Zoom every Friday morning. And Steve Fisher, our pastor of Care Ministries, opens us up with an anchor. It's not a Bible study. It's not a preaching of any sort. It's just a way to anchor us in the Word of God. And then we go around and everybody gets a chance to share what's going on in their employment search and ask for prayer for whatever problems are overwhelming them. And we pray for each one on the call there. So there's the meeting ID and the password for Zoom, and I also have an announcement on a way to later in a few minutes on how to look that up if you didn't get a chance to write it down. And so it's a very important meeting because psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, there are a lot of forces at work that so we need hope, we need encouragement. We need all kinds of help besides the practical help that we try to give you through Frisco Connect, which is the more practical side of the ministry we encounter, and the tactical and the situational, how to build your network, how to start relationships with people you don't know, how to deal with applicant tracking systems, how to deal with making your resume as optimal as possible, practicing your networking skills, and a lot of that is also available on careerdfw.org and careerusa.org. And you're probably going to hear from Jeff Morris, who is the creator and sustainer of that platform, and it is at no charge, it's a wonderful resource. When I've been in the search for employment, that's the first place I went to find out what's going on in the way of meetings that could help me out, activities that could help me out, resources that I could go to. So careerdfw.org and careerusa.org are premium, and you'll hear a little more about that in a few minutes. So Reach Up, Reach Out. So we're trying to cover all aspects of what's going on while you're searching for employment or in career transition. And this is one of them that we've been doing for 13 years. Okay. Additional resources, we have a Yahoo group called Frisco Connect Job Search Network. What? Oh, it's not a Yahoo group. Groups.io. Okay. I thought I did too. Oh well. But we do have a group page on that's supposed to say Facebook. That's what that's supposed to do. Boy, I really screwed that up. Frisco Connect Job Search Network is a Facebook group. Ignore that Yahoo group. Frisco Connect Career Networking is our LinkedIn group. And so we ask you to join those, and you can meet people online. The LinkedIn group has over 2,700 members. Many of them are alumni of Frisco Connect. And it's a good way to establish a connection with them, because being part of the group, I think you're automatically connected at second level, and you can invite them to become a first level contact and do some research and investigate and help them, and they can help you, so it's very dynamic. Then we have Ruro on Friday mornings. Okay, so we also have an email group for Frisco Connect called groups.io. So if you go to the groups.io platform and just type in Frisco Connect, you can join us there, or you can supply your email to myself or Foster, and we can get an invite out to you to join the groups.io. And a lot of these people who support us in the DFW area post a ton of opportunities that they come across. A lot of those are not on the job boards or are not on other places on the internet, so it's wonderful that they share that. It may be something that they're not interested in, it's not in their area of expertise, and they get emails and communications from recruiters and others, friends of theirs in their network, and they pass them on so that others can take a look at it. So it's a great source of contact. All right, that's about all I've got. I'm going to hand it over to the job father, Mr. Foster Williams, who's got his Hope shirt on today. Yeah. So, you ready?
I am.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you this microphone. I'm going to give you the lavalier. Right. You got a place you can pin it?
I like that that name, lavalier. That sounds fancy. Okay. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Frisco Connect. I'm on camera. Thanks. Yeah, I've got it. Good morning, everybody. I am Foster Williams, longtime recruiter, and I have been involved in this network since 1996. So, what we try to do, read my shirt, hope. Help one person every day. That's our motto of this whole network. And hold on, I'm coming to you. We've got people here, and I want to say hi to Marty's folks out in New York. And Robert's got a couple of guys in North Carolina, I believe, that's with us right now. And hey, everybody, that's what this network is all about, guys. Getting good information to you guys so you'll know what to do, where to go in your job search, all that sort of thing. And with me being a recruiter, I love to help. So I'm going to tell you guys about a service that I'm really, really impressed with. I want everybody to go check out transitionmasters.org. Transitionmasters.org. When you're looking for a job, you're in job transition. And when you go to transitionmasters.org, you can send your resume in. And on Monday, 5:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Texas time, you guys can meet with a bunch of people on Zoom, a bunch of coaches all over the United States. You can get a coach to approach you and what your job search is, what your resume says. You can talk about all sorts of things. I think it carries a lot of value. So go check out transitionmasters.org. The website will guide you through. There's a calendar on there, and you find the appropriate date, and the Zoom link for that date will be there on the calendar. It is tremendous. So that's all I have to say about that. That was yesterday. Every Monday, guys, it's there. And the calendar will tell you which Mondays we're meeting, which Mondays we're not meeting. Okay, I get an opportunity to introduce you guys to people that make this network what it is and makes it so valuable. So I'm going to start with Bob Ernst and Portia. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Today it's going to be fun because we've got Walt Glass with us. We're going to be talking about vetting culture. What are we getting ourselves into? You know, 2022 has been different. 2023 is going to have its challenges, I guarantee you. And so we want to know what we're getting ourselves into when we're getting a job, when we're in our job search. There's my friend Portia right there. And here is Bob.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah.
Good morning.
Bob Ernst. I'm a retired Navy pilot, now a certified financial planner at Edward Jones. I'm the person that did the career change. So just encourage some of you that are out there that are maybe got laid off. Maybe this is an opportunity to consider something else, something that you always wanted to do. So if you're interested in that, I'd be happy to connect with you and guide you through that process. If you're interested in becoming a financial advisor, I'd be happy to talk with you about that and opportunities at Edward Jones. And then Mark and Trevor can talk to you about New York life. Portia here is a service dog in training with Canine Companions for Independence. So I puppy sit for them, and I've had her for 11 days, and she is going to be a service dog for somebody in the future. So it's a great organization. They're right here in Irving. If you would like to learn more about that, I'd be happy to tell you about that too. But connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me know how I could help you out. Bob Ernst with Edward Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Porsche. Okay. You know what? Guys, John, when he was up here a while ago, he introduced you guys to the idea of Career USA and CareerDFW.org. That's another website you guys should go and check out. It explains itself, but I've got the creator of, he's shaking his head. I really, really appreciate this guy more than I can tell you. His name is Jeff Morris. I want you guys to get to know Jeff. I want you to get to know the product that he constantly takes care of and he grooms for us. It is incredible, the services that are there for job seekers. Believe me, in 2023, guys, you're going to want to get involved in this network, and you're definitely going to want to know who Jeff is and what he has created. And Jeff, you got a couple of words for us? They got the mic back there somewhere. There it is. All right. I'm going to shut up and let you guys get a real job search expert, professional, right there.
I don't know if I'm a professional or not. I think I just got suckered into doing this 14 years ago. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, actually 14 years ago this week, I started a website called CareerDFW.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area by trying to put everything that a job seeker needed to know in one place. You drive by the church, there's no sign out front saying, come here this morning at 9 o'clock or wherever you're at. And this was just a way to sort of combine all this information and update the list. In 2012, 10 years ago last month, I started a second website, CareerUSA.org, a website to help those around the United States. Since COVID started, we've gone to online training 4 days a week. Every Tuesday we do a LinkedIn presentation. Today at 1 o'clock. Locke Alderson will be with us to talk about, I forget the title of his talk, but he'll be talking about LinkedIn. Every Tuesday we do LinkedIn. Every Wednesday we talk about interviewing skills. Every Thursday we either talk about networking, or this week it will be effective resumes. And then every Friday morning I lead a group called the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. All that information's on the CareerDFW and Career USA websites. Just go to the very front page and you'll see a place that says free online training, and you can scroll through, watch any of those things online. Also, if you'd like to join our LinkedIn group, we've got we just passed 14,200 members on the Career DFW group, so you're welcome to join one or both. And if there's anything I can do to help you, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know. My name is Jeff Morris.
Thank you, sir. That is my brother, Jeff Morris. He's a little bit taller and better looking than I am, but I can't help that. So, guys, I want to introduce you to another person that is instrumental in this network, and that's Pete Hernandez back there. And I made him get up out of his chair, man. But Pete is a leader in this group, The HR group, which will be tomorrow, we have special interest groups, HR, IT, anything, any segment that you can think of. Maybe you're a project manager. We've got individual groups for those things. But Pete is going to share with you about our HR group tomorrow and why we do it and what it looks like and all that sort of thing. And Pete, we appreciate your service, sir.
No problem. Happy to be here. All right, as Foster said, tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, strictly on Zoom, we have our HR group. And by the way, in case you're wondering, you do not have to be in HR to join us. In fact, most of our people are not in HR. But guess what? We have HR people, we have talent acquisition people, recruiters, learning and development, office management, legal, whatever you need. And guess when you join us, you get to meet those kind of people, the HR people especially, talent acquisition, and people like that. So when they land a job, guess what you've got now? You got an inside connection to that particular company. So I highly encourage you, whether you're in HR or not, to join us tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Central Time. You can find the details, as Jeff was just talking about, at careerdfw.org. Navigate over to the calendar. You'll see the link to our Zoom, and it's the same link every week, so go ahead and put it in your calendar. We meet on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, so you'll see us tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Please join us. Again, it's on Zoom. You can interact and connect with other people and hopefully help each other out. So, Foster, that's all I got. Oh,
Thank
by the
you,
way,
sir.
a buddy of mine at Hunt Energy, they're desperate for project managers. If you're a project manager and you want to work remote, check out Hunt Energy. If you're interested, get a hold of me through LinkedIn, Pete Hernandez. I'll be happy to connect you with Larry and see if he can help you out. Thanks.
Oh, Larry, I've got the lavalier.
Oh, that's right, you do.
I like that word, lavalier. That sounds kind of important, Debbie.
The little candelabra walking around.
So, guys, here, I want you to read my shirt again. This is going to be our topic today. And that is why so many people get involved in the group. And the leaders that we have do that. So, guys, share. Remember that what you're going to hear today, Walt Glass is going to be talking with us about culture and all that stuff. It is tremendous what you guys are going to hear today. Remember that this is captured on YouTube. So we all know somebody that is in job search. Direct them to YouTube. Tell them to find Frisco Connect. And if you're not here later on, guys, you can check out what we did today, and you can listen to what Walt's got to say. So, one more person. Let's see who I can pick on. How about Mark and Trevor? Now, all of you guys probably know Mark and Trevor already, but we want to hear about the Vet SOS. We want to hear about the Who You Know Job Networking Show, because the Who You Know Job Networking Show is Trevor, Mark, and Foster. And come on up, Mark. Where is that? Where is that? We keep losing that mic. But this guy is, that's Mark Elder. That guy's so important, he's got his own bobblehead. So we have fun on the show. You guys can see the bobblehead and other silly things that we do to help on the Who You Know Job Networking Show. Okay.
I guess I'll go
it.
first.
Have at it.
I guess I'll go first since Trevor's somewhere. All right. Well, thank you, Foster and the group. We are super excited because I'm actually doing a spin-off of the Who You Know Job Networking Show, so which most of you know. But if you're not aware, we have started the Vet SOS Show, and that is for, I'm a veteran, very passionate and patriotic about helping veterans and active duty members that are transitioning out of service into the civilian sector. So kind of and even military families. So that's what the Vet SOS is for. It's designed to bring awareness to the veteran service organizations that are out there, a lot of regional, organizations that will help anybody, but they don't get a lot of publicity. There's 40,000 veteran service organizations in the United States, 40,000. And again, not a lot of them have big, strong PR or marketing arms, and so that's one of our goals in that show is to develop awareness for, again, that community to be able to help them inspire, motivate and educate them on career transition and get into the civilian sector. So we air those on Tuesday afternoons at 4:30 Central Time, and then on Friday mornings, Central Time, at 11. So be sure to tune in. It's on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, most importantly, that's where all of the engagement happens. So make sure that you check out the page, the Vet SOS or the Who You Know page. You can get to the show right from there. And then also, we have a financial firm, like Bob had mentioned. If you have not explored a career in that, New York Life actually is a Fortune 100 company, and they do have salaried positions. So connect with me. I can get you plugged in there and help you get your foot in the door. Lots of opportunity there. They're actually here in DFW as well as around the country. And then if you're looking for a financial advisor or agency role, we can get you plugged in with those too. So make sure that you connect with me. I am Mark Elder, and it's Mark1Elder is my LinkedIn handle. So if you want to connect with me there, would love to chat with you and see how we can be a resource. And then I'll hand it over to Trevor.
That is Trevor Houston right there, you guys. Y'all know that face. You know that voice.
Well, good morning, everybody. Yes, my name is Trevor Houston, and I'm excited, okay? I'm really excited because we are launching and getting ready to regenerate, reinvigorate, remix, if you will, Frisco Connect.
Remix.
Yeah, it's the remix. We're doing a lot of planning right now, getting things ready to launch in the new year. A lot of really cool programs, and I'm really excited about it. I had a vision, and the vision that I had was really, motivation, education, and inspiration, right? I started thinking about, what the job seeker goes through, and I was putting myself in your shoes, and I've been volunteering at this group for a long time, and I watch people, and I watch people walk in these groups, and, their shoulders are kind of down, right? We understand, it's a beat down. The job search is an emotional roller coaster. Some days you're feeling like, it's hard. Some days you're motivated. But my goal was you know what? I want to make sure when you leave this room that your shoulders are up, that you not only have the skills and the tools and the resources to go and apply in the outside world and do good in your job search, but you also have the motivation, right? And so we're working really hard right now behind the scenes to remix a few things, to bring you guys more of that, again, motivation, education, inspiration, and collaboration. We want it to be a space where people can connect. It is Frisco Connect, right?
That's right.
Connect, and they can, help each other, right? Because I promise you, in this group, we have the solutions to each other's problems. We all do. But the issue is, if your head is down like this, you're not going to find the solution. You're just not.
Yeah, companies don't want to hire that one.
Companies don't want to hire that one, and it's just, creativity always wins. And what happens is if your head's down like this, you're not creative, you're not going to find a solution to whatever problem you're going through in your job search, right? And so my goal, really, my mission is to try to help lift the energy to get you guys up. So again, that your shoulders are up, and you can start to find some solutions. And so what I'm going to ask for you is, during the break, come connect with me, please, because I want to hear from you. I have a lot of different thoughts and visions and things that we can do to help pump some energy in this room, but I want to hear from you. I want to know what you need, right, so that we can try and deliver it to you. That's my goal. I want to deliver what you actually need so that we can help you get results. So please come connect with me. I'm very, very interested in your thoughts. It's not just what we want to do. I want to hear from you. All right.
Thank you, sir. Guys, there's a number of people that are on YouTube watching us right now. And here's my shirt again. I'm bringing a lot of attention to my shirt this morning. Because, guys, that's what it's all about. This network was simple. Jeff can tell you, because years ago, Jeff and I sat down at lunch, and we talked about all this stuff. And it's just a matter of helping people. It's just a matter of caring enough. We've all got a friend. We've got somebody in the family that needs help, and you can point them towards where they can get help from. Yes, Williams had his hands up twice.
Shouldn't that say help other people every day?
That's what Mark says. Help other people every day. Help one person That's all is required. Help one person every day, but help other people, because we all know more than just one person, right? And all of a sudden, our network became what it is. My job is to network the network. My job is to tell you guys where things are that add value to your job search, like transitionmasters.org. So, guys, we are going to head to break. I don't think I missed anybody. There's my Mez back there. Good morning, Mez. So come on up and carry us through break, if you will. And you know what? We're going to take a little bit of a bio break. You guys might want to refresh your coffee, your orange juice. Even on the East Coast, it's still morning, and you guys might need that orange juice. You guys might need that coffee. So get it, and I'm going to hand that to Maz. And you guys got Maz, and she had a really, really neat experience and continues to have a neat experience in this network. Maz is probably going to tell you about our Job Father Job Networking Radio show that happens every Friday at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time. So you guys on the East Coast, that's noon. I don't know what goes on at noon on the East Coast. I know. I miss my crab cakes, you folks that are in Baltimore. Okay, I'm going to shut up about that. Here's Maz. We have fun in this network. Guys, you'll be surprised what you can find in this network.
Absolutely. Guys, welcome YouTube world. Hello, everybody. While we're taking a break here, just a little bit about myself. Let me explain something about myself real quick.
There you go. Tell us something good.
My name is Mez. You can look me up on LinkedIn as Mez. I think I'm the only person named just Mez, M-E-Z, on LinkedIn. Please connect with me. So my story is I am a biochemical engineer by education, and I was in the oil and gas industry for 10 years. One company, 10 years. At the end of Q1 2019, I got laid off from my company. And I was devastated, completely devastated. I was one of the sharks you see on the Discovery Channel get hit with the bang stick on the nose really hard. Cried my eyes out, didn't know what to do. I think I still had a resume from college where it's all in like the fancy script, because, you know, in college you don't know any better. So that, I didn't know where to go, what to do. I came to this church, this is my church, by the way, here at Stonebriar, and Uncle Chuck mentioned Frisco Connect. So through my hangover, I wandered all into Frisco Connect the first time, and the first person I met was Pete Hernandez. I'm pretty sure you guys heard from him. And I just dove in head first. I got all my resources, everything from here, amazing, amazing network. Please, obviously they haven't gotten rid of me yet, so, and until they do, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to tell you all about my story and what I went through, because yes, we're professional, yes, you want to get a job, but this is a safe space, all right? We have fun. It's not a fun time for anybody looking for a job. I get it, but that is the key, is to not just network to get a job, but don't go away. Stay here, not stay here, but I mean, get your job, stay talking to people, because God forbid you may get laid off again, and that's happened many, many times. I mean, ask Pete, ask Foster, everybody, unfortunately, in the corporate world, has the chance of getting laid off more than once. So my story, again, I'm an engineer by trade, but I didn't want to go back in the oil and gas industry because of the volatility, no pun intended. I got re-educated, recertified, and I am now an IT project manager in the risk management industry. And as a sidebar, I'm also a day trader, so I'm very grateful for the transition that I went through, and I'm very grateful for this network. So if you want to connect with me, please reach out to me. If I don't check my LinkedIn right away, don't curse me, but that is my story. And I think we have a wonderful guest with us today, Foster. Are we ready to come back from break?
We are indeed,
All right.
especially if people are back on YouTube.
Pretty sure.
I'm on my way.
Okay. Do, 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 do.
No, I got to change the batteries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I can keep talking. Normally this is the part in the show where Pete or Mark or whoever just starts yelling questions at me, and he's ignoring me. Hi. Have any questions for me?
Tell the people about how the network is set up, the difference between special interest groups and the general network group like this.
Okay, so we have a couple of different groups. This is Frisco Connect, obviously, and the other one we have is South Lake Focus Group. So I'm not quite sure, I think they meet on Thursdays at 8 o'clock, and it's every Thursday at 8 o'clock. Yes, I got one right. Aren't you proud? So that is the general networking group. So it doesn't matter what your specialty is, what you are interested in. It's just everybody comes in, networks, and connects, basically. Special interest groups sounds like a lobbyist over here. The special interest groups are as follows. We have IT project management. We have HR, which is mine. They allow everybody in HR, including engineers, so I was very grateful. Project management. Healthcare. What was that? Supply chain. I think that's about it. We had more at one point, but that's about it.
Yeah, for special interest group right now, yeah, that's about it.
And if everything goes right by you and you don't know what's going on, it's all on DFW, careerdfw.org. So if you miss something, you have a huge calendar and everything is listed out there. I'm trying to think what else, Foster. Normally you're talking all the time. I'm not used to talking. And I'm the hype lady, by the way, for the Job Father show. So you'll see Mez in the chat, and if you want to connect with me then, and then Dana is also the co-host, right?
Mez is nervous because I'm standing behind her.
Yeah.
You never know what I'm going to do.
It's like, what are you doing over there? But what else do we got? Foster, what else?
I think you covered it.
All right, I'm going to give you the microphone back then.
Okay. So I got my usual mic back. I'm going to hold it a little bit further away from I got a big mouth. I'm loud. So if I pull it up here, you guys will go, oh my God, that dude is loud. So, guys, that is Maz. Please connect with her on LinkedIn. You will see Meg Rose Quiterio, Quiterio. Woohoo! My mom was an English teacher. I remember that. I was in spelling bees when I was a kid. So, guys, this is our network. It spans about 25 states now, thanks to the opportunities that we have on our podcasts and radio shows. It is not about Dallas-Fort Worth only. We are a hotbed of activity here in Dallas. I'm sure all of you guys know, because we got so many people moving into Dallas-Fort Worth, but moving into Texas altogether. But you know what? There's jobs in New York. There are jobs in Charlotte, North Carolina. There's jobs in South Carolina, Charleston. And hey, Lisa, and thank you, Lisa Berg, and the folks that have done a good job of networking and connecting with us. And some of these big old companies that we have locations all over the world, guys. So I'm quite sure that occasionally we might have somebody from France or Germany or somewhere that tune in to us. Okay, so I want to introduce Walt Glass. Now, Walt has got the lavalier. I don't have it anymore. Walt is going to carry us through the rest of this meeting and our offering today. We're going to talk about vetting culture. What are you getting yourself into? What type of management structure are you getting yourself into? All sorts of things that Walt has been in around for a long time, and he's going to tell you some really neat things. Now, you guys on YouTube, ask your questions, pose your questions on YouTube. You know me, I'm always running around with this mic, and Bill Richardson will tell me what it is, and I will pose the question for you. So, without further ado, I want to introduce Walt Glass. He is at the back of the room, and he is on his way up here now. And I told y'all at the beginning of the meeting, Walt is much better looking than I am, so you guys will enjoy the view. All right. Walt is coming, and I love listening to Walt. I've been a recruiter for more years than I want to tell you guys, but every time I hear Walt, I learn something new. And job search has changed, in case you didn't notice, guys. over the last 5 or 10 years. There's my friend Walt.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
I'm out of here,
Okay.
y'all. He's got it.
There's one requirement for the in-house group. You have to come down front. So the people in the middle, you're fine. The people in the back, you can come down to the first 2 tables. All right. Would you do that for me? Anybody? Just come on down.
Good idea.
You know, if you're the presenter and all the people are in the back of the room, it's not quite as engaging for the presenter. It doesn't bother you too much, but it helps me get a little bit more energized and to engage with you. So let's start off with a couple of questions. What are all the things you need to do for job search? Pray. Yeah. I mean, I remember in looking for jobs that I was just glad to find that I could not add any else to my to-do list. It took me months just to get my to-do list to stop adding things that I needed to do. And there's just a ton of them. What do you think most people do first when they are laid off or they're in job search?
You got to get out and see where the help is. How to plug into what is available to help you find the correct job. Not just a job, guys. We don't stay at just a job, because just a job may not pay us enough. So,
Well, that's certainly
yes,
what
though
we
we're
should
broke,
do.
yeah.
That's what we should do, but what do we do?
Go home, go sleep. No.
All right, we've got some emotional time initially going through, and then we work on our resume. That's the first thing we do. Oh, I've got to get my resume out and got to do that. Today, for those of us who keep track and keep up with things and keep track of your achievements as you're in your job and keep track of things and you're updating your resume every couple of weeks or whatever it might be, so that you don't have to go back and remember all these things, you know. That's kind of the way life is right now. We're almost always continually looking for a job. Always. And we're always on stage. We represent ourselves everywhere we go. And do you look like, do you show, do you have interest, enthusiasm, meet people, like to talk with people, those kind of things, because those are all things that we should be doing all the time in our job search. Well, amongst all the things that we have to do, I was looking at some critical points of, here's some must-dos in order to shorten your job search. Now, the whole job search network, all of the groups that are in the DFW area, everyone around, the main focus is to help you shorten your job search, to keep it shorter, and to help provide you with information and tools. Now, one of the other problems is there's so much information available. I mean, there's just tons of it out there that you could spend all day just looking at videos. You can go to Jeff Morris's site on careerdfw.org, and you can see all the different services that are offered. And then he's got a site where he's got, 400 now videos that are out there all over different things, LinkedIn, networking, resumes, all that kind of stuff that's out there to absorb and get that information. And it would take a long time to pull all that together. Well, in thinking about that, I said, well, what's the most important thing? What is one of the top critical things that we can do to help shorten our job search? And everyone says, well, I want to find that dream job. So let's define dream for a moment. What is that like? And I'll talk about this a little bit in the presentation as I start showing slides. But the idea is, how can I really be effective in my job search, right? And we're going to talk about that. And I've picked out one tiny little item that I think is extremely critical in accomplishing an effective job search. And that is the company itself. What are their values? What is their culture? And does it match ours? Because if it doesn't match ours, the probability of that job lasting a long time is lower.
Yep.
There are people that say, well, I'm going to consider this job. He says, well, I can do that job, but it's not the one that I really want. And I interpret that to mean by you're going to go to work where you are not energized by going to work. And so how's that going to work out for you, right?
It's not going to feed you.
It's just not going to work out that well. So I want to be energized. One person when I do an interview success workshop, I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But he said, this job is why I don't need an alarm clock. Now, how about that for a closing statement? You know?
Wow.
Then that means I am energized, I am interested, I can't wait to get started. It's all in that sentence. And of course, the way you say it is almost more important than the words themselves. You can't say, I'm really excited about this job. You got to say, this job is it. This really is an exciting position job. I really look forward to coming to work here. All right. That's a whole different approach.
Right.
But it has to be from within. It's not just what you say, it's how you feel. Because how you feel and how you think determines what you say, how you say it, and your actions, right? So it's your mindset that's really important. Well, today I was looking at vetting culture and values, saying, what do we do to ensure that it's a match for us? And it kind of came down to what kind of questions should we ask to determine that? And so this presentation is kind of focused on that. So let me get up so I can walk around. What are we selling?
Us.
Ourselves. Define ourselves. I hear this long pause every time I say that. Say, what is that? All right. Well, back in 2000, I asked myself that same question, particularly after I screwed up an interview so badly that I said, well, that's not going to happen again, because we sat down in a conference room and the hiring manager said, well, Walter, and I go by Walt most of the time, and so when someone says Walter, that's an alert. What can you do for me? And the interview went downhill from there because I didn't have a clue. I did not have a clue. I could tell you what I did. I was all ready to go through my resume and talk about all the actions and all that kind of stuff. No. And that's kind of like, you know, going out and saying, all right, here's 5,000 cars. Go take a look and see if you want one of them, right? And that's not the way it works. So I look at this and saying, all right, what can we do in selling ourselves? And I said, well, there's three parts that is to what we're selling. So we're selling our soft skills and characteristics, our personality. Some people call it the likability factor, which is a little bit of you just can't put everything into one word. But that likability factor, and what is our personality? What are our characteristics? Then we have to have the experience and the hard skills. Now, usually, like the first interview coming across from a recruiter is to qualify you based on the I do. Looks like you can do the job. And some people get a recruiter, all they're responsible for is asking questions, writing down your answers, and handing it off to somebody to see if the next step is going to go forward. So that's an I do thing. They don't know a whole lot about you. They don't know about your soft skills, characters. They don't know the value that you can bring, which is the third part, which is solutions to their problems and needs. They really hire us to accomplish something for them. So the whole idea of I am, I do, I help, which I put together for the workshop, is how do we combine who we are with what we do in order to achieve these kinds of results? So that's the basic thing. So we're going to delve into some specifics with that. So the I am, the I do, and the I help. We're going to focus on soft skills characteristics a little bit, and not only what we do, but how it's done. How do they do that here? Because there's a lot of different ways things are accomplished. So which is the most important? Well, I am can override I do and I help. Would you agree to that? In other words, if I don't see you as a good working companion and a team player, and you kind of have the right ideas and goals, and it kind of matches, and I like the way you present yourself, the way you talk, the way you communicate, all that sort of thing, then I help and I do really don't matter. I inherited an employee one time And I would describe him this way. He's a very technical person. And I told my boss, and I said, you know, Fred is a tremendous asset. He can accomplish so many things with technology. But can we put him in a room, no phone, no communications? We'll feed him occasionally, give him a place to sleep, a dog if he would like one, but don't let him talk to anybody. Just don't, because he will screw it up. His working with others and his personality and his empathy, all that stuff, he was just all in the technical arena. So he was a really interesting person. So we're going to really look at selecting and vetting culture and values from target companies. So you know, in hearing and networking, even there's a presentation on reference solutions, how to find a target company. Well, part of that should be what are their values and what is their culture in that process. And we can do some research on the web, and we can talk to people and find out what they are. So we're going to talk about the talking people a little bit. So we're going to see if that is a match for us. So let's look at values, and let's look at culture. So what are the values? Well, beliefs, philosophies, it's the way the organization is driven, really. And then the culture. So the key word here in this definition is shared. All right? Everybody has the same kind of culture, because if it's not shared, we got an oddball, that's going to be a problem. That job won't last very long. But it characterizes the institution and the organization, right? So let's start with those definitions. A couple of interesting statistics here. 50% of executives say it influences these things, the creativity, the productivity, the growth. Well, isn't that interesting? Why is it only 50? Don't you think it would, you know, what about the other 50% where they don't think that culture drives all that? Yet something's wrong here. Something's wrong with this picture, right? And I might say that the military, they have a specific culture, do they not? And that's just fine for someone. We need good soldiers. We need people to take orders and do things. And some organizations are like that, and that may be the exact fit for you. That's what it is. When I was doing a team interview many years ago, we were trying to hire an accounts payable clerk. And I worked for a company called EDS, and the phrase was, you find eagles one at a time. We hired eagles. And they were superstars. They were go-getters. We flipped a coin one day to see who was going to run the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota account. Did you know anything about health care? No. I said, well, you will in a year. You're going to go up and run, you know. And that's the kind of people we hired that could do that kind of thing. But only 50%, that bothers me. 88% of the employees. So even the employees think it's more important than the CEOs think it is. Now, isn't that interesting? But that's a pretty good number to say that most of us are really saying that culture really is key to success in that role in that company. So what's the importance? And I've listed a whole bunch of bullets. You can look at those. I don't need to read them to you. But they have a significant impact in multiple areas into the organization. In general, we just talked about that in general on the previous slide, but here's a whole list of things. So it's extremely important in the impact that they have. Let's talk about the values. Now, there's three kinds of values. And I can't remember who it was, Jeff, in the group that I pulled this from. But there are the posted values, okay? Those are saying, okay, you can find these on the website. And so our question is, do they have anything to do with what's really going on? And then there's the wannabe values. So Ross Perot, when he started EDS, supposedly the story goes, he was on the beach in Hawaii, poor guy, and figuring out what would be the running, the drive, the behind power for that organization. And he listed several things as to the values and the way of operating in the organization. For example, one of them was, in our ethical policies, you don't even want to give the appearance of doing something unethical. Not only do you not do it, but you don't even want to look like you do it, all right? And that kind of is interesting. When somebody sees you eating dinner with a vendor, they're looking at you and saying, are you you know, is something happening here? Are they crossing your palm, or what's going on with that? I mean, you're giving the appearance that maybe something is wrong. You can't stand up and say, hey, I'm paying for my own dinner, you know, I'm not doing anything wrong, but that's the appearance. Anyway, that was just one of the examples. So actual values are the way they really work, what really is going on here. Now, that can vary inside a large organization. It can vary by department or by sub-organization. So the sales team might work this way, and the operations team this way, and the IT this way, a little bit differently. But still, there's got to be something common throughout all of those. We're going to look at actual values today. We want to know the actual values. We can look at the posted values, we can research all that, but I want to find out if they're true. I want to validate them, see if they're right, what's going on. So here's a bunch of things about what makes up corporate culture and how you can talk about it. But notice that values are part of the culture. In fact, I put them in the center because those values drive all those other items. What do we value? What's wrong with these statistics? So I need some help. I need some answers. And here's my rule. I don't want you to answer for at least 20 seconds. I'm going to give you some time to think. Now, that's kind of rare in this world. You mean I get to think? I don't have to answer right away? No, you don't. So, give me time to get to oh, okay. 38% want a job that aligns with interests and passions. What's wrong with that number? It's too low, right? It's too low. Okay, you get a free business card from me after the meeting. Okay? Yeah, you want that. All right, it's too low. Why isn't that a higher number, right? Why is it only 38% that look for that? In other words, we're saying the job and working and the financial pressures outweigh the rest. Well, that's okay. You get that job, and what happens? And so I remember Janet, she said, well, I can do this job, and she went and got that job. And 3 months later, she quit. Said, nope, this is not going to work for me. And she found the job that she was really happy with. She found a different one and said, hey, I'm in plan. I remember Brian. Brian was chasing a job, and then he stopped and went back and said, let me examine myself. What is it that I like? What do I enjoy doing? Look at all my past. What was my favorite things to do? What drove me? All that sort of thing. And realized he's looking for the wrong job. Started looking for that job, found a smaller company, family-oriented, said, best place in the world to work. Best place. All right, 47% cite the company culture as the driving reason for looking for work. What's wrong with 47%? What do you think? Right. I mean, like, only half of us care about the culture. What's wrong with that thinking? Because it's just like the person went and got the job, they could do the job, but didn't like it. One person got a job, said, culture is just terrible here, I can't take it, right? And they blamed that on the company, and I turn around and blame it on them. You were supposed to be off. It's just a doctor telling me I'm sick or something, I don't know. Yeah, I'm in the process of doing some claims with the VA on some of the stuff with Vietnam and Agent Orange and that sort of thing. So I'm seeing multiple doctors. First time I could see one of them was February the 24th, you know, and stuff like that. Anyway, you know,
an approach to that last question, while from my perspective, talking to so many job seekers, a lot of us are panicking that we don't have a job and we don't take the time to realize how important it is to know what we're getting ourselves into. We're just trying to get that money coming in the door.
That's right. The financial pressure is huge. And sometimes you have to take another job. My advice to you is, do you see that job as a stepping stone for your next job? Will you be energized? Will you go to work? Will you see how you frame that job and how you feel about it and how you go to work and what you do? In the years in EDS, I realized that if you were successful at whatever you did, people had a hard time turning you down if you wanted to do something different. If you had a good reputation, you worked and you were known and says, well, I like to do something different now. People have a hard time turning that down. All right. So it is too low. But they also didn't choose that job wisely. Right? It's a poor current choice. They chose it. They didn't look at all that. And then they said, I'm leaving because that didn't work. Well, why didn't you figure that out before now? Why did you do that?
Right.
35% of U.S. workers, they would pass on the perfect job if they felt the company culture wasn't a good fit. All right? It's too low, right? We should all. And you know what? I'll go to the next one. 50% say they would turn down an offer because of the company's culture. What's wrong with that number? It's too high. Now let's think about it. Why are they waiting until the offer to decide that the culture is not right? There shouldn't be anybody saying, okay, I'm waiting till the job offer, and then I decide that the culture doesn't fit. So look at all the time you've spent, the investment, all the things you've done, the interviews, all that process and all that sort of thing. Perhaps you've learned something, you've experienced some things, and it might have helped you in job search, but where are you? You are in a slow job search mode. It's too slow. We've got to speed that up. All right. What's the perfect job? It fits 4 things, according to me. So I like the job itself. All right. Then there's the company, which is kind of the organization, and that includes the values and culture and all that. So that's a big one. But then your coworkers and then your supervisor. Now the problem with the supervisors is I always told people when I was in EDS and we were growing leaps and bounds, 2 phrases. One was, if the boss calls, get their name. Because we were reorganizing just all the time. It was just, we were growing huge rates. I started out at that company, there was 3,000 employees, and when I left, there was 120,000 employees. Minus the 10,000 that got laid off. Okay? So those are kind of what we're looking for. We should be vetting and targeting opportunities that are the best fit for all 4 of those. And we are doing that pretty much subconsciously in some areas. Would I like working for this person? If you're talking to the hiring manager, do you like the team? Whatever it might be. Does the job look like it's right, or doing the activities that I want to do? Is achieving the results that I can do for them match, and does that energize me? So we're pretty much checking on those. But what about the organization itself? And if there's not a fit, well, there's a bunch of things that go wrong. But the bottom line comes out to say, you're going to leave or they're going to have you leave. It's not going to work out. It's not going to work well. So the bottom line is turnover. And companies do, the whole hiring process is one of looking at risk. They do not want to hire someone that they don't think is going to stay there for a while. It's really interesting. Companies want loyalty, but do they give us any? Not a bit. And that changed several years ago. I remember when General Motors bought EDS, the average years of service for the GM IT community was 30 years. The average age of EDS employee was 30 years. You want to talk about a Harvard school, business school case study, look at the culture between the purchase of GM and EDS. All right. So sooner or later, we will probably leave. So I say we got to start with knowing ourselves. What is it? What do we like? And here's several different areas. There's a dozen things listed here on this slide to say, how would I answer all these? What are these? So we need to, I think, sit down and say, all right, what are values? What's the most important one to me? What are the top 3? What are the top 4? You know, you should have 4 or 5. But amongst all else, if you don't have this, this one's a showstopper. If you don't have it, I'm not going there. Right? So knowing ourselves is important. Now, so I went out and looked, and here's a list of 148 things. So these are somewhat values, some are characteristics, and some are that. So I looked at these 148, and I went through them, and I said, well, yeah, I think I'm number 1. Yeah, I think that's me, number 2. And so I ended up with 48 of them. And so I think those describe me. All right. And I said, I wonder how other people would describe me. Because there is my actual working values, right? This is how I work. This is what I believe in, but here's what I do. And you know that actions speak louder than words, right? So here's a way you might want to look through these and say, and I'm helping you now try to choose your values and your characteristics and these things that we just talked about. So here's just a list. You can go out there and look. There's a ton of them out there on the web. What are you? How would I describe myself? So one slide I found was very interesting on Harvard Business Review was they say, well, there's really 8 different types of cultures. Now, the reason I show these is so you look at these and say, which one or 2 sound like me? Sound like the kind of culture and the values that I would like. So that's why I put this up there. And so they came across with these different types of 8. And then they looked at it and said, let's cross that with a couple of other dimensions. One is the interaction. Interaction with others or not much interaction with others. So on those 2 scales. And so guess what we have? And the whole world can be described on a graph where you have an axis, X and a Y, and you have 4 quadrants, and you can describe the whole world inside those 4 quadrants. And so that's what they did. So you can take a look at this. Now, it's essential that you get the handout for this presentation because the handout contains about 35% more information than I'm showing here today on the slides. So you need to make sure you get a copy of it, and there is a copy available. All right, so you look at that. Say, how does that fit me? And then I put this table together that said, all right, here's the 8 types. What kind of skills, what kind of soft skills would probably match that particular type of company, that particular type of organization? So you can kind of take a look at that and say, how does that sound? And then on the right, there's some example companies that you can look at and go look at their website and go look at their stuff and see how they describe themselves. You know, the About section is a huge way to find out what the company is, how it describes itself. And if they're a public company, you go look at their 10K and you look at section 5, the management discussion and analysis, management is talking about itself and it's ripe with information. It's really good for us to look at. So there's other places you can look to find out what they look. So anyway, there's some samples here. So here's one I came up with. It came up with 28 different companies, and they have some details on each one of them. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And by the way, I've got a slide at the end, it'll be in the handout, that shows you a couple of links that I looked at to pull some of this information together. So there was a lot of information I could have chosen, and I just chose some as an example. It's not like this is the top, this is the best, this is everything. So it has details. So if any of those happen to be a target company of yours, you ought to go look at this site. So I want to take a couple of them. I want to take Google and Zappos. I think all have heard of Google. I don't know if everybody's heard of Zappos. Right. So here's what Google says. Now this is off of their website. And listen and watch or look at how they describe this. The words they use, the way they choose to say it is as much of a message as the words themselves. Look at that last one. Great just isn't good enough. There's a high bar there. There's a high level of expectations. So that company says, hey, we can't be just great. We got to be better than that. Google is kind of amazing. And then Amazon. Amazon's another one. I didn't put them up there, but Amazon's a good one. It's interesting about Amazon is that before you get to here's the job section, they got about 8 pages of testimonials and all the reasons you should work for Amazon. Same thing with Toyota. They have a lot of things that says, here's what's the value. They're trying to sell you on the company before they even let you get to the job site to look at the list. And that's great because we can look at that and say, that tells me enough right now. I don't think I need to go look at the job list. All right, here's what I've learned right here. That could be very discerning. All right. Look at how Zappos describes themselves and the difference in the way they describe them. Deliver wow through service. That means over expectations. Now, in an interview, one of the things I look for is the raised eyebrows response. If I say something and they go, that means that's over expectations. That's a real positive sign. It says, oh, you can do that or this. So the eyebrows go up. And that's about all we get to see on Zoom or online or whatever the software that they're using is because we can't see hardly any other body language except that. So I look for eyebrows going up and eyes going down. Well, of course, some of them don't even look at the camera anyway, so it's hard to tell. But it's really interesting how they talk about do more with less. Well, that's pretty much standard. I remember I was in a sales group. We got together in January. We spent the morning talking about how great we did last year. And then we spent the next day and a half talking about all the things we need to do the next year. Right? And so one group got up and said, well, here's some things that we've got that are going to come out, some add-ons, some options, some features we're going to add to this. And he said, okay, great. So one sales guy got up and he said, look, when are these coming out? I said, well, we don't have a date for those yet. He said, look, we only have 380 days left in the year. And we need to have these things now. All right? All right. I picked 10 common values. I just selected them. There's nothing says that this is the best 10 or the top 10 or anything like that because there's tons of them out there. But here's 10 just to take as a sample to show how we can help ourselves figure out what we want to do. So I looked at these 10 and I said, all right. Now, when I went out and researched them, I found 5 different complementary values that support that particular value. And so of the 10, so there's 50 values listed in this document here for each one of those different types of values that you see as the major one. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but notice there's a definition for each. And we need to have a definition of our values. We really need to understand what that is. How can you describe it, talk about it, if you don't know exactly what it is and how to say that during your discussion? So here's all those. I'm not going to go through them. There's another way of looking at them is what kind of career path do you have? What kind of job are you looking for? And what kind of values fall into that? For example, does anybody want a project manager that's not detail-oriented? All right? We all do, all right? But what we really want in a project manager is one that knows which details to pay attention to and how to prioritize them and how to get them accomplished. That's what we're looking for. Not that if you're too detail-oriented, you don't ever get anything done, right? And today we're faced with distraction. How many times do you start doing something, but something else gets done before you get that one done? You'll see something or whatever happened. Oh, I don't know. I know that when it's time for me to do something I don't like, I often find other activities to do before I get involved with that one, right? Like job search. I'd rather sit here and look on the net and look at jobs and submit things. I'd rather do that. That's easier than having to do all that other work. Of course, that's the very, very long route to do it. Do some of it. Just don't overdo it. Nights, weekends, evenings, maybe 10, 50% of your time max. All right. So then, looking at each one of those, here's a list of job skills that you might look at to say, all right. So this I'll put in here to help you look at different ways of looking at the skills to help you define yourself what you are like and what your values are and what kind of path you have. All right. So what questions then might we ask? So we talked about looking already on the web. You can research that. But we want to validate it. So when and how do we ask questions? And so this was really the pithy part of what I wanted to accomplish in this presentation. Of course, we can ask questions in the job interview. But we also can do them in an informational interview. In an informational interview, we get a chance to ask more questions. We have more time. We're in charge. We can certainly do that. And in the job interview, we can certainly ask some culture questions. However, there's not as much time to ask questions in a job interview. We can't do it all. So we have to prioritize them, have to figure out which ones are. And there's other questions we're going to ask besides culture questions. Okay? You know, like, what can I do for you? What expectations do you have of me? How many thousands are you going to pay me? I'm looking for something in the 6 figures. Okay, that's all the way up to $999,999. That's a large range, 6 figures. All right, but we certainly want to have some prepared, and I think we ought to have some prepared for the job interview, and some that we can prepare for the informational interview. But they need to be prioritized so you can get the most important ones done and find out first. Therefore, after you do your introspection and you look at yourself, you say, these are what's more important, then I can ask questions about those particular ones. So how do we go about doing that? So here's another popular company values, all right? Here's 10 of them. And leadership at the bottom has actually 4 different types of leadership. But the idea here is how do I generate a question about this value? How do I know what to ask? Now, some very common ones that people ask, what's it like working here? It's a very common question, very open-ended, very nice question. So there's a few that are out there, but I think we might want to target a little bit more specific to the value we're looking in some of these questions, not just the open-ended question, which is a good question too. So I put together what I call the company values table. And it has these 5 columns in it. The value, the definition of the value, and then the value of the value. What is good? In the workshop, I talk about when I ask somebody their strengths, and they say, okay, well, I'm detail-oriented, I'm whatever it is. I say, why don't we sell how we can help in that answer as well as I am? So being detail-oriented, strong on this and this, I can help you achieve these kinds of results. So the whole workshop is a way of how do you sell, I am, I do, I help. And how do we add that in? So I'll put this table together. So here's the table. So the first one was teamwork and collaboration. So what's the definition of that? So I'll put in a definition. It's really how we work together, right? How we do it. What is so good about teamwork and collaboration? So here's some things here. This is going to help me when I get in and talk about the value that I have. I can also talk about the value I bring with that particular skill set, soft skills. And that's what we want to do. We want to be able to talk about it. So that's going to help us there, as well as ask the questions. What does it look like? What goes on in an organization to show their level of teamwork and collaboration? So when we look at what it looks like, then we can say, oh, now that I know what it looks like, I can just to see how does teamwork and collaboration work here. And I'll put up some examples of questions that you might have for that particular value. So the exercise is to go through understanding the definition, the value of it, what it looks like, and then some example questions that I can ask to determine what's the working value here. So guess what? There's 10 of these. You want to go back and go through all of them? Jeff is nodding and smiling, but his body language says yes, but I can interpret that to say no, we don't need to go there. And that's why you want to get the handout, because it covers all 10 of these as examples. And there's the 4 leadership ones. So, how do you do this? Here's what you do. You have some values of your list. So I'd like you to go out to the web and you simply search on definition of integrity, definition of collaboration, definition of detail-oriented, definition of, all right? And you're going to find, you know, the web's got more information than we can read, right? A good, strong definition of what that really means. The next is just search on the value of, or the importance of, what's the name of the value? And the web's going to come back and tell you, here's why that value is important in business. Here's some things that the impact that they have. So that's going to help you understand that. Then, how does it demonstrate? Well, how to demonstrate whatever the value is. And the web's going to come back and give you all kinds of information about how that can be demonstrated. What does it look like here? You can do this yourself. You don't have to depend on all this search to do that. You can say to yourself, what's the value of what I do? What's the value of who I am? Right? But here's why you can help that. Now, once you get this demonstrated by these types of actions and activities, then I can go back and ask a question to see what about that activity. So for leadership, one question, I don't know if I'll put it in there or not, but one question might be, have you fired anyone? Well, yes, I have. But tell me the process you went through to fire somebody. And you're going to find how the organization works, how the leader works. You're going to find some good information about that. A lot of people don't think about asking that type of question. We can ask our interviewers to tell star stories too. Tell me about a time when you fired somebody, right? That is the kind of thing we're talking about, saying, how can I really get to the question to see what's demonstrated here? There's a whole bunch of them. So let's take an example of work-life balance. Somebody define work-life balance for me. Well, what's your definition? Right. It's a balance between what? What you do at work and what you don't do. And what you do when you're not at work. And whatever that is your balance definition.
Flexibility of how I might handle children that I have that are still living at home.
There's a new law. Your children will come back to live with you. Sometimes more than once. Right? Yep. And they're still wanting an allowance. Okay? That never stops. All right. All right. So, the division of one's time and the focus between working and non-working activities. Very general stuff. And it's personal. It's individual for each one of us. All right? There's two answers to that question. This is what I do, but this is what I should do. So I work very hard. For 8 years, I worked 90 hours a week. Nights, weekends, 7 a.m., 10 p.m. Phone calls from my wife downstairs saying, when are you coming to bed? So I'll be right there. That was 9 o'clock, and a phone call at 9:30. When? I just got this little bit to do. There's a nice cartoon for the IT people. There's a terminal sitting there, and there's a skeleton, and it's got cobwebs all over it. Underneath it says, I just have one more thing to do. Right? All right? So what's the value of work-life balance? What does it do for us? I just picked out 3 things. But what does it do for you if your work-life balance is balanced? Right. Right. It does, right. It does. If you're working all the time, and sometimes we work all the time, but it doesn't show itself, but it's up here. Okay? I've been thinking about it. I'm driving home. I was traveling around Texas a lot, and so I'm driving home from the airport, and I'm thinking about something. And this is going up 75. I live in the northeast section. And I'm supposed to turn on Bethany and Allen. And when I finish thinking what I'm thinking of, I'm in McKinney. I'm safe. I'm doing the road. I'm doing all that stuff. But anyway, still working, all right? Still working. So how's it demonstrated? So here's some ways. How would you think it's demonstrated? Would you agree with some of these things? How does telecommuting help work-life balance if you're still working 90 hours a week? It may not be the answer, might be, but these are symptoms, these are signs or something. All right. Jeff, your son asked the question. What was the question your son asked to the leader about vacation?
When's the last time you took a vacation?
And the answer was, they don't take any. I've been there 4 years, no vacation.
For the folks that are on YouTube, the question was, when was the last time you took a vacation?
Sorry, thank you about that. Should have repeated that. So there's a good question just to find out, what's your work-life balance? You get to, Toyota is very interesting because they talk about work-life balance a lot. And one of the people that worked for them, got a job with them, called me up and says, that work-life balance thing they talk about? I said, they practice that. I said, well, how's that? She said, they came to me and says, you need to go home. You're working too much. You ever heard of a company doing that?
Especially one that size.
You want to know the working value versus the posted value? What company does not believe in work-life balance? They all do, yet what actually goes on?
Right.
So that's a good question to find out about work-life balance. And then a question. So what's your typical work week look like? Or what do you expect my typical work week to be? How much time do you see me spending? You say you want me to accomplish these 4 things. These are 4 of the objectives. How would you spread the importance of it and the percent of time that I might be spending on each one of those? What would you think would be the right amount of time, the expectations for me in those activities, right? See what it is. Then you say, all right, what's the typical work week like? What's the expectations? And this is before you get the benefits thing. You don't want to really bring up benefits until the offer's made and you want to evaluate those. But in an informational interview, you have a little bit more flexibility to talk and ask about these questions. What are your outside interests? What do you spend your time doing? One of them is, used to be watching Johnny Carson. Of course, I don't know if some of y'all know who Johnny Carson is. I don't know the name of the Late Show host anymore. I'm not interested in them anymore. In fact, I'm so tired of TV. All the news is just problems, problems, problems,
Yep.
problems, 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 and how bad it is, and pointing fingers and division. And, who wants to do that? So I don't want to spend my time doing that. But flexible hours, do you have flexible? Here's some things that you can ask. Now, I only brought up a sample. There's several more that you can ask. So here's what your action item is to do. Determine your top 3 values and describe the culture. Let's take anybody in the room. What is one of the most important values that a corporation needs to have for you to see that there's a fit? Guess we need to do this exercise. He raised his hand, so he has authority. You have priority. Go ahead, Gary. Oh, I took you. What's an important value to you? What's one of the most important? Go ahead, Pete.
To me, it would be that whatever I saw on your website, at your mission statement, or your values, you actually execute them, which means to me that you stand behind those values and you do what you say you're going to do.
Okay, so Pete's answer was once you see the values listed, that you actually do them. That says that the values listed match your values, right? Now, what it really means is do you actually do that? So is this the posted value, the wannabe values, or the actual working value? Okay. Well, good luck. All right. So the work history. Well, that's not really a value. That's a thing. It's something that exists. But what's important to you as far as integrity, work-life balance, leadership? What's important to you? What's the most important things to you? And so, go ahead.
I'm thinking, I won't mention which job it is, but I had a job where I was one of the top leaders in talent acquisition, and that required building relationships to be able to serve that end customer. And so my number one question was, am I allowed the time to build the relationships, get the people in the right places to be able to get accomplished what they need to get done?
Okay. So your question would be something along the lines of, how much time do you think I should spend in building these relationships?
Are they going to let me do what I do best?
Yep. How willing is leadership willing to collaborate with me?
Right.
Right?
They're hiring me to manage it, or you're going to let me do that?
Right. There are leaders who just delegate the whole thing to you. You try to find out what they're looking for, and they don't even have time to meet with you, and they don't know, whatever it might be. I remember one person, he called me and said, well, I went to that interview, and he had gone through the workshop, and I said, well, how'd it go? He says, only result was they decided their job description was wrong. And they got to go back and rewrite the job description because that's not what they're looking for. All right.
Sounds like a DOD shop.
But that happens. And I've seen job descriptions, this is manager, this is senior director, identical. Identical, all right? It's kind of interesting. You really can't depend on job descriptions, and you have to validate everything, but you got to find out what's really going on. All right, so then research your culture, your values, like we did on table. Build your own entry in the table and say, what's the value of it? All right, here it is. Here's the definition. Here's what the value of. What does it look like? And then what questions can I generate? Going through that process is going to internalize this for you so that you do understand the value and what it means and the value that it brings and that sort of thing. You might just ask the question, how critical is integrity in the ways we operate here? And I found, even in organizations that have a lot of integrity, that if you can sell a lot, the rules change. You can get away with some things. Which is, how about that? Is that so you say you're like this. I was told when I went to ES, they said, we don't have really any political here in the organization. And I said, yes, you do. I don't know how much it is. You might minimize it, but I've never seen an organization that doesn't have some politics in it. Never. So I am apolitical. I don't want to be in a political organization. And so 98% of things were definitely, it is very low, but there's still some politics that goes on. Do that to build your table and get your questions. And now you've got to get questions for the job interview and questions for the informational interview. Now the top 3 or 4 might be the same, but you want to have a definite priority. And that priority is, if this organization does not have this as a value and it is not practiced and worked here, I am not going to work there. Okay? That's how important these are. Because you'll get a job offer perhaps and they say, well, they do it half the time. I probably can do that. Or some places. You want to really understand that to help you prepare for that. When do you ask these questions? Well, it's pretty obvious in an informational interview when you ask them, but what about during the interview itself? I've always talked about in the interview success workshop that after your first response, you ask a question. It's called a trigger question, and it gets you into a conversational mode, which is a strong thing that you want to do in interviews. You don't want an interrogation. So you try and attempt for the conversational mode, so you ask a question. And I like a values question. As like, what are the top 3 characteristics of a person to be successful in this role? Now, I don't know what the job description says, or you might say, I see several things listed in the job description of the type of person you're looking for, but I'm interested in what you feel are the top 3 characteristics. Now, that's an open-ended question. What's your list of values or how a person operates? What do you have to do to operate here in the beginning? So there's a great time to ask it is right up front. And why do we want to ask it? Well, we're salespeople. We want to find out who they're looking for and see if it matches, right? What do we normally do? We just go in and start saying, this is it, this is my soft skills, this is this, here's I can answer my strengths and that sort of thing. And it's not like, well, what are they looking for? What matches? What's more important to them? How does that? And if I've got several interviewers, I ask a little bit different questions. You don't ask them. Some might be the same, but some might be a little bit different. So you can find out a little bit more about that particular thing. So you've got several questions for that value in your pocket so that you can ask those. Make sense? All right. So in the first question, now during the interview, and this is one of the things that I think so many of us miss out on is the opportunity to ask questions during the interview. Our mindset says, please God, help me answer these questions. Right? Just help me respond to them. And so we fall into the interrogation model. That's what it turns out to be because we don't do anything but just answer questions. So ask questions during. So if someone is asking you a question, well, tell me about a time when you dealt with a difficult employee. So you answer that question. And so I turn around and say, can you tell me about a time when you handled a difficult employee? How did you handle that? What did you do? What's the process? I like asking the process for termination. I want to know what the company's process is and how they go about doing it, who's responsible for it. Because, in General Motors, if you had a problem with an employee, you send them to HR. In EDS, HR advised the manager did it all. Quite different in the culture there. So it's kind of nice to say, just send it off to HR and let them worry about it. Wasn't for me. Didn't match for me, and I like. So during the interview, you can ask those. And then at the end, which is not the place you save to ask questions, you want to ask them before you get to the end, because basically the interview is over. They have all the information they need. They're done. They don't care. So there's definitely some closing questions that I have. But inside of that, you can ask, do you see me fitting into this role? Does it kind of match? Does the culture match? Does the I do match? Does the I help match? That sort of thing. But you can ask a cultural question or two when they say, do you have any questions for me? But realize you're not going to really have time to get into a discussion. What do you usually see? Got any questions for me? Right? So it's just a courtesy on their part, but you really can't get into anything. Sometimes they'll just say, send them to me in an email, right? I need to know that. So you've got your list of questions you can put in your email. So at the end, you can also talk about 1 to 3 questions on that. So you've got several questions you want to ask, have a prioritized list, and the culture questions should be in there too. And they are, I think, the most important questions in the priority to check out. Because if that culture doesn't fit, then the I do and the I help doesn't really matter. Yes, Pete?
To me, those culture questions, I like to ask them of each person I've interviewed with, because I want to make sure they match.
Right.
They should match, at least be somewhat aligned.
Have some common and have some different. Yep. That's good. Here's some links. It's in the handout, some sites you can go look at to help you pare down some of the research on that. Now, can we get this video going? We're having to jump through hoops to do a video. Just because it works on my computer doesn't mean it works on his computer. Any questions? I've been in IT for, I hate to say it, 40 years. Things used to work or they didn't work. Today, maybe, maybe not. Yes, sir.
On the value side of things, would that include causes that certain companies donate to?
If community involvement is one of your values, yes. Name a company that's heavily involved in community involvement in here, in DFW.
First Command in Fort Worth, really known for
Right.
that.
How about Toyota? It's all over the place. And they look at it. That's one of the common things. If you're in a community service and you donate your time to some of the things that are in common with what the company also does, you want to bring that up. That's a match. You support that. Yeah, I help build houses. Look at my thumb. So the comment was, well, I'll skip that. Any other questions before we get to this video? On a scale of 1 to 10, which ones of you are going to do some of this? 1 means, maybe. I think it's John 13, 17. 13:7, 13:7. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. Okay.
As a long-time admirer of Ross Perot and what he built and what you all built at EDS, describe the culture.
Describe EDS culture. Let me give you the unwritten culture items. All right? A sense of urgency. Very important. Not that, you know. Another one was, if you see a problem, you own it. You either solve it or put it in the hands of somebody who can. There's none of this, not my job. You see a problem, it's yours. Do what it takes. Do what it takes. There is no protocol for communication. You need help in a particular area, you find that person who can give it, you go right to them. You don't have to go through any chain of command or anything like that. You just ask what's needed. One of the interesting things about EDS was that you find eagles, you find them one at a time, individual people. Well, how do you make those people collaborate? So there was a collaboration. So we used, I didn't like the term, but we used a war room. So everybody's in there and they're going through it. But the value was when the decision was made, everyone executed the decision. You try to change it behind the scenes. But when the play was called, and you're the end, you're supposed to go out 5 and turn left, that's what you do. You don't decide, I'm going to go to the right this time. So we were more successful at executing than we were actually in the solution itself. We made the decision work. Many times, I'm implementing software. Home Depot was one of my customers back then. Bernie Marcus was the CEO. But the idea was, we went in and said, this is what we're going to do, what we're going to do. At the end of it, the greatest expression that I heard was when Bernie Marcus, the chairman, said, Walt, you did what you said you were going to do. That's the value. Deadlines are sacred. Deadlines are sacred. We meet our deadlines. So when I was in charge of a project and I had a deadline, I made sure I tried to set one so that I could make sure I could meet that deadline. Right? That enough? Yeah? Get an idea? Go.
Mrs. Carruthers, welcome.
Thank you.
Come on in, have a
Thanks for having
seat.
me.
Of course. I have been looking over your resume, and I have to say I am very impressed.
Oh, thank you.
You know, actually, I think, to be honest, you are overqualified to be an accountant.
Oh, well, that's okay. I don't intend to work very hard.
Really?
Absolutely. In fact, I only intend to show up when I feel like it, which is good because I have a wide variety of extremely annoying personal habits and absolutely no sense of hygiene.
Oh. You know, then, I don't feel like you're then the correct person for this position.
That's okay, I quit.
You can't quit. You don't work here.
Like I would ever work here.
Like we would ever hire you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And even if you did work here, I would even give you the opportunity to quit because I would fire you.
Well, you can't fire me because I don't work here.
That's right. You don't, and I would can your ass so quick.
Prove it.
Okay. You've got the job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And now it is my pleasure to inform you that
I quit.
You can't quit. I fired you.
No, it's too late. I don't work here anymore.
Fine, let's try this again. You've got the job and now you're fired.
No, you offered me the job, but I never accepted. Look, I've already worked for you. It's very tedious. And now you want me back. I think it's a regressive career move.
Okay, what can we do to get you to come work for us?
A raise.
A raise.
$200 an hour.
$200 an hour. Okay, prorated to the 10 seconds you're going to be working here, so 12 cents.
And this time I promise I won't quit.
You promise you won't quit. You promise you'll let me fire you.
If you still want to.
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to want to. So we have a deal?
Not yet. I've already been an accountant here. I feel like I've outgrown the position. I want something higher. How about junior vice president?
Junior vice president. $200 an hour, or 12 cents, whichever comes first, and you promise not to quit before I have the opportunity to fire you.
That's correct.
Great. We've got the job.
I accept.
Great. Now you're fired.
Oh, you can't fire me. I'm junior vice president. I'm your boss.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
And as your boss, I regret that I have to fire you.
Why are you firing me?
Well, I can't help but notice as head of personnel, you've been hiring some very strange people lately at $200 an hour for me.
What am I supposed to do without a job?
Well, we do have a new position opening up in head of personnel. Do you have any experience?
Well, that was a little used technique that you might consider in your job interviews as to how you might go about handling that. Wouldn't you like an interview sometimes to go that way? It's kind of interesting. So let me talk about one other couple of things, and then we'll be done as soon as I get back to it. Let me talk about the Interview Success Workshop briefly. It's a very informal workshop. Only do 1 or 2 people at a time. You do get a video of your interview, and you get a handout about all the things we talk about, plus some other things associated with interviewing, and a video that tells you everything in the handout. So that's an hour-long video in itself. The idea for these documents and things that I give you is like the person who contacted me and said, well, Walt, it's been 3 years since I went through the workshop. I'm not looking, so I pulled out all of your stuff. I've got the videos, I've got the handout, I've got the all that stuff, so that I can refresh myself and go back into it, which is why I do that, because I want to give you something that lasts. The value of the workshop and what we are working to do in the workshop that I designed and developed in 2000 are still valid today. They still are. Until we'll have this new way of saying, I'll have my computer talk to your computer. We'll have AI figure it all out. We won't be involved with it all. There was one person, Jeff, you may remember this, but got a job without an interview. Not a single interview. Filled out some stuff, answered some questions, did some things, but did not have a face-to-face at all. It was a tax job, working for Internal Revenue. I think it was up in Michigan. Yeah, and up in Detroit. And he loves it. Said job was just great. So we don't know whether he lucked out, but he didn't get to ask any questions too much, I don't think, in that process. There's another way you can practice interviewing, and that's the pit crew, the practice interview team. You didn't talk about that, did you, John? Now, the pit crew, on dallaspitcrew.com or dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, that is a formal panel interview. We take your job descriptions and your resumes and we delve into questions. The workshop, stage 1, is categories of questions, motives behind them, strategies, options, structures to answer them. So we learn how to answer a negative question. We learn how to respond to a salary question. We learn how to respond to an overqualified question, because some of the people, fit into that. And a lot of people just make a mistake. The interviewer says, do you feel like you're overqualified? I said, no, I'm not. And look at all the things I can do for you. I can do this, this, and this. But the interviewer is saying, I know all of that. That's why I'm not hiring you. And you're arguing with me. I said you are. You say you're not. Now we're in an argument, right? So those kind of things are what we talk about in the workshop. So it's very informal. You can start over. You can pause and think before you answer. That's a strong thing to do in an interview. So we practice that. So look me up on my About section under Walk Glass on LinkedIn. It gives the details. And please read them. The reason I say that is I get these things and say, well, I was looking at your webpage on LinkedIn, and how do I register? So, well, you didn't read the 7th line that says this is how you register, right? Or people that don't even look you up before they communicate with you. Why do we do that? If I was going to try to meet with Jeff, wouldn't I go look him up and find out some things about him? Anyway, so if you're interested, read that. But it tells you how to register. Just send me an email, and I'll send you some dates. Now, I'm really full through the year, but I will add additional sessions as needed. I've already added one. I'll add another. I usually do them on Tuesdays from 9 to 11, but we're pretty much booked on those for the year. So be glad to have you participate. Come on down. We call it learning without squirming. Okay? Well, it's not a test or an exam. If you're interested in signing up, the QR code on the screen will start an email to you. There's the philosophy. You remember the philosophy of, where's Foster? I don't know if he's in the room. Make it easy. Oh, there he is. Yeah. Make it easy for people to help you. Right, Foster? Right. Everything you want to do, you want to make it very simple. You don't want them to have to work and do anything. Like the people that would get up in the room and say, okay, I'm looking for a job in the North Dallas area. I'm looking for a tax job. If you got any information, please let me know. Oh, wait a minute, we're all going to rush out and look for you a job. And that just doesn't work, right? It doesn't work.
I get that all the time.
Yeah, get it all the time. It's just like, what do you think is going to happen with that? So that'll be send me an email to ask for a registration. And I'm done. Yay, thank you. Got a little applause.
Excellent.
God bless you all. You find out how you can get a copy of that PDF of all the slides, all right? I think John can tell us how you do that. Where will they get their copy?
Okay, we are informed. If we are not, we should be.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Walt. Thank you much. Guys, as a recruiter, I want to tell you something. On your LinkedIn profiles, please put your email address. Now, sometimes when we're connected to you, it still doesn't show your email address. So you want to make sure that your email address is out there. Why? Let's think about that for a minute. Somebody like Foster might think you'd be a good fit for the job. I want to reach out and get in contact with you very quickly. So that being the case, I at least need to have an email address. It is suggested strongly that you have your phone number somewhere on there, because in the nature of the way we do things in the big companies, a lot of them that I work for, there are multiple companies that are, sometimes we farm, as we say, we farm jobs out to certain companies. Now, we want those companies want to be the first one to contact you. You want to know, you know I'm going to say this. I know Meg Rose is going to laugh at me when I say this. I say it all the time, especially on the radio show. Guys, you want to deal with the company that has the best relationship. They will be able to, if the company has a good relationship with the company that you're talking about, you probably won't have to ask too many questions. You'll be able to discern that when you're talking to them. They want to let you know what that relationship is, how it came about, all the things that you need to know, because the company that's actually going to get you the job there is going to be the one that has worked with that company and knows that department very well, has worked with them in the past, might even tell you some detail that you wouldn't think you would even get from someone, from a recruiter or someone that's working for the company. Just thought, guys. So on those LinkedIn profiles, email address, make sure your email address is somewhere it can be found. Suggestion number 2, very strong suggestion, put your phone number on there. We want to get to you as fast as we can. I want to get to you faster than Jeff Morris if he were a recruiter. So that's all I have to say about that. That's job tip from Foster day to day. Okay, so we will not, this is our last meeting that we will have this year. We will be revamping. And guys, please link in with me if we're not already linked. I know we've got a number of people on YouTube. A lot of you folks are in other states and you may not be connected with me. I am a net weaver. What I like to do is connect you to people that can help you get inside the companies you're finding a job that you're interested in, help you get in that company, help you get to a place where you might find companies that are similar to what you've already been doing, because if there is an opportunity at these companies that do the same thing, it makes sense. So I'm full of a lot of information like that kind of thing. And our next meeting is February the 7th. Did you guys hear that? 2023. So Happy New Year to many of you guys, because I will not see you guys until 2023. And it'll be after all the, the college football playoffs and all the stuff that Meg Rose and I like. So February 7th, 2023. Any communication that needs to be done about this group or anything, please contact me, Foster Williams. Link in with me. That way you can find me. Actually, all of my information is on LinkedIn, whether you're linked with me or not. My phone number, email address, any way to contact me. Thank you very much. I will see you guys in 2023. And John's coming. John's probably going to have a parting word with us.
Yeah. I just, the document, the PDF of the slides for Walt's presentation, we will get that out to you. If you don't email Walt, we can get it out to you on groups.io.
Okay.
Somehow.
Alexandra Favor, you and Boderick Hall have asked me that question. That's how you can get it. I will personally send it to you guys. I'm going to get it from John.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you guys again. I love doing this. I love helping you guys. And before we leave, take a look at my shirt. Bye. Bye.